Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to do our NFL wildcard predictions. Normally at this point in the video, this is where I talk about how I did last week on predictions, but I'm not going to do that because that's last season. We're done with the regular season. We're now going to shift our focus to the playoffs because the playoffs is a brand new game, it's a brand new season. Everyone's 0-0, which means everyone has a fighting chance of going for that Lombardi trophy. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing started with the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Houston Texans. Chargers going 11-6 this season. They're seed number 6 in this playoffs. Wait, they're seed number 5 in this playoffs, excuse me. And the Houston Texans are seed number 4, winning the AFC South at a 10-7 record. For the anyone have that feeling that the Texans have always played the first playoff game of the season whenever they're in? Just a thought. But anyway, this game, the Texans are coming in with not much momentum. They have been losers of 3 of the last 4. The offensive line for the Texans have been bad. CJ Stroud has regressed, and the receiving core, they have been pretty injured. And for the Chargers, they have been good enough to make the playoffs to me. The defense had a turnaround. Justin Herbert, he's quietly produced an efficient season despite a minimal supporting cast. Even if Quentin Johnston's going to be questionable heading into this game. But looking at this game, even though I can see the Texans winning this because it's a home playoff game, you never know what to expect in a home game. I'm going to go ahead and roll with the road team, Los Angeles Chargers, to get the win. And if they win, well, we'll talk about that later. And this brings us right into the Saturday night game. And what do you know? It's an AFC North rematch of the Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And this game will be played on Amazon Prime, which I think that idea is very stupid, robbing core audiences of the fans who do not have the subscription for that Amazon Prime Video. I have it, but I'm just complaining for everyone else's sake. For the Steelers, like the Texans, they're coming in with not that much momentum. They have losers of 4 straight. They had the 5th seed. Hell, they had the 3rd seed pretty much intact, but after that 4-game losing streak, they got knocked down to seed of 6. As for the Ravens, the exact opposite can be said for them, because Ravens, they're peaking at the right time. And even during that 4-game losing streak the Steelers had, these two teams played, and the Ravens finally got over the hump and beat the Steelers, which was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. This will be the 4th time this rivalry has matched up, and the Steelers are 3-1 in this rivalry when it comes to the postseason. But the Ravens, they're giving them borderline double-digit favorites. That is borderline disrespectful. And so with this prediction, again, I'm going to base this off of who has momentum heading into this postseason. And given that the Ravens are borderline double-digit favorites, I have a feeling that point spread will go down by the time the game comes. I am going to roll with the Ravens home team to get this win. And for the Steelers, it will be another year without a playoff win for TJ Watt. I'm starting to feel a little bad for the guy. And now we got onto Sunday's playoff games. We got the Denver Broncos taking on the Buffalo Bills. Broncos going 10-7, clinching a playoff berth in Week 18, beating the Kansas City Chiefs 38-0. But let's be real, the Chiefs rested their starters to prevent the Bengals from getting in. Bills going 13-4 in the regular season, and Josh Allen has been in the MVP conversation throughout. And I think this Buffalo Bills team became the first team to have 30 passing touchdowns and 30 rushing touchdowns in a season. That is very impressive to me. So, looking at this game, even though the Broncos, they're pretty much been the Cinderella team, everyone's surprised that they made the playoffs for the first time since going to the Super Bowl almost a decade ago. I can't believe it's been that long. And the Bills, right now, the Bills are one of the best teams in the AFC. even though they're not, despite them not being the number one seed. And with that in mind, I am gonna roll with the Buffalo Bills to get a win at home. But I do think this game's gonna be closer than what the people think. I do think this game's gonna be very, very close. Closer than I'm saying like 13 to. I'm saying like 31 to 27. Not 31-27. 31 to 24, which the Broncos probably gonna get a late score to make the game much closer than what the people think. That's what I think is gonna happen. And then we got the start of the NFC playoffs. We have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Packers going 10-7, and once again, like last year, clinched the 7th seed in the playoffs. They did have some of their momentum starting to die down a bit. While the Philadelphia Eagles, another season where they went 14-3, the second time in 3 years that this happened, and then featuring a 2,000-yard rusher in Saquon Barkley. Now the Eagles, what I gotta say about them? Well, Jalen Hurts, he has not played in the last 2 games, or call it 2.5 games, due to a concussion. He is practicing, and he's expected to get cleared before the game is set to take place. As for Green Bay's, they're starting to have some injuries on the defense because Jair Alexander, he's on injured reserve. Christian Watson, the tenderoni wide receiver, he tore his ACL, putting his next season in doubt. And yeah, that's where these teams stand. Now, these two teams have played each other this season. People forget they played very early, the first game of the season in Brazil, in which even though it was a back and forth fest with ultimately the Eagles finishing up on top. Which means the Packers, they do have a shot in this one. I'm not going to rule out anything for Green Bay. However, with this game being played in Philadelphia, Green Bay losing a little bit of momentum and the playoff, and the Eagles have a much, much better roster. I got to roll with the Eagles to win. Even though it guts me to say that, but I think the Eagles are the better team in this situation. But if Green Bay, I'll be secretly rooting for you. And now we got the Sunday night football game with the Washington Commanders taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Commanders, like the Broncos, another surprise team. Because whoever thought Washington would go 12-5 in year one in Dan Quinn, year one of Jaden Daniels? I don't think anyone predicted that. But they did. That goes to show you that with Dan Snyder being away from ownership, good things can happen. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, this is their 5th straight year in the playoffs, with their 4th straight year winning the NFC South. Baker Mayfield's playing really good football. Mike Evans is a 1,000-yard receiver again. But what made this Bucks team different from the rest of the teams of the past? They got a good running game now. Bucky Irvin, Rashad White, they've been running the ball very, very well in this season. Now for a prediction. They're giving the Bucks 3 points, which means this could be a very tight matchup. And like with the Eagles and Packers, these two teams played week 1. With the Bucks finishing up on top, I think they won by like 2 touchdowns. But Todd Bowles acknowledged that this Washington team that they're facing now is a totally different team than when they played week 1. So I do expect this to be a very close game. I think probably, I would say 23-16 will be a respectable score. But with the Cardiac Commanders, I am going to call them that. Anything's possible with them right now. I am going to go ahead and go with the Bucks because they're at home. Home playoff games are that much different than they are on the road. And I think Washington's lack of experience in the postseason might catch up to them in this situation. So I'm going to roll with the Bucks. And last but not least, we have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Rams for the Monday Night Football playoff game. And this game, before I talk about what these two teams have been through, this game for now is going to be in SoFi, but there is a relocation tendency plan for this game due to the ongoing wildfires. And I just want to take the time to say we are praying for the city of LA and that entire area and anyone who's been infected in that wildfire crisis. So that being said, the Minnesota Vikings finishing the season 14-3, which is I think is if I'm correct, the highest win margin of any wild card team heading into the postseason. Because they had to lose to the Detroit Lions in almost pretty embarrassing fashion. It was not a good day in the office for that Vikings offense. And the Rams, well, I think they went 10-7 on the season, but I remember they started off this season pretty slow, but they got things going late in the season. After they lost to the Eagles, they just kept ripping off win after win after win, mostly using their defense to help them out. But I think they're gonna need some of that offense if they want a chance in this playoff game. So for me, this one's interesting because these two teams have played each other already this season. Week 8, they on Thursday Night Football, in which it was one of two teams, and the Rams became one of just two teams to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Well, this game being in LA, I was gonna give the Vikings the win, but I'm sensing playoff upset. Given the Vikings have had a series of bad luck in the postseason, I'm gonna go with the Rams to win this playoff game at home. They do have the playoff experience, and I think the Vikings' good luck fortune will come to an end. So here's the updated standings for the AFC playoffs. This is how it's look right now, and this is how the NFC playoffs look as of right now. And yeah, that concludes the wild card playoff predictions. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.